didn't feel like Texas wanted to play in a phone booth. You know what I mean? When it got down to it, you know, you're flashy, you look good, you're athletic as hell. You got Arch Manning, you got all these guys. But did you really want to fist fight? You know what I mean? And Will have a great opportunity to bring that because he's got some toughness to him.
Mm-hmm.
Sure does. Who they hire out?
Recording. All right, the one, the only, Rusty Mansell on 3, DawgsHQ. What's up, man?
Back in town, man. I always tell you when I'm back in town, we'll come by and see you. So,
are you going to be able to catch any concerts or anything?
Not this time. So, this is kind of work related, but you know, I am very aware that the Eagles are coming in early May. So I'm going to plant some seeds while I'm here to try to. I would love to see the Eagles one more time. I saw them in Atlanta a couple years ago. Unbelievable concert. You know, of course they did that residency in Vegas, and like they would announce a concert, and it would sell out like in 2 seconds. Then they announced 2 more dates. So I got a couple of connections in Nashville. It's funny. I text those connections. I ain't heard back. So I want to double back on that.
I don't know if you've heard this, and I don't know that it's official. I should probably stop telling people.
No.
But in Vegas, you know, they had that Sphere.
Oh yeah.
They're apparently going to build one here.
So they're building. Yeah, I heard that. Well, they're building. I would say a scaled down version in Atlanta right now.
Oh really?
Yes. I mean, they're in like 50% done.
Really?
Getting ready for the World Cup.
Okay. Because I heard the one here too was it's
probably the same thing.
It's not going to be as big as the Vegas one, but
they should. You know, Vegas was Vegas for a long time, but now that you can gamble on your phone, you can bell your phones, and then you can fly in out of Nashville. Y'all getting a new stadium.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to say it, but the growth here is not stopping anytime soon.
No, it's definitely not. But hey, now that you're running a website, I thought it'd be kind of good. And you've been doing it for how long now? Actually running it?
3 years. Co-owner, co-publisher. Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious. What are the biggest challenges to you running a website like that in 2026?
Well, it's
because I would imagine it's changed.
It has changed a lot, and it's trying to find. And we're always, and I credit Shannon Terry and our guys at On 3 because they're very supportive. Like, this is what's working, this is what's not. You know, we're all together. The one thing that remains a constant is a message board community. You know, that's your people. A lot of those people, you can go out and get information anywhere now. I mean, you know, we can break a story and 6 seconds later, everybody's got it, and Instagram has it and all that. But can you go talk about your people? Can you be pissed off about the 4th down call? That's where you go voice it. So the one thing that's consistent is the message board community, and that's never going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, you know, creative content. You know, it's not just a message. You know, it's not just a post now of, hey, this is who's visiting. You know, recruiting's completely changed. I'm sure we'll dig into that. It's really kind of grassroots now, getting back into your community, being there with your people, and they pay to be around you. Like, can I have Rusty Mansell answer this question? Can I have Jake Rowe answer this question? Like, hey, I'm hitting you for this, and that's kind of what you pay for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're on to something. Well, clearly you are, but because that's kind of our audience.
Yeah.
We go live the same time every day.
Consistency.
And the same people show up.
Yeah.
And they're in the comments, and especially like during the off season, a lot of their discussions is not even football.
Yeah.
You know, it's like what you grilling tonight?
Yeah. Well,
what you drinking tonight?
I'm sure a lot of those people get up and have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And knock out some stuff and go, all right, they're live. Let's jump in.
Right.
That's your community.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's a huge part of it. What about advice? What advice would you give to a young journalist?
Oh, man, here's the thing, too. I get this all the time. And this is not a knock on anybody. It's not a knock on a young adult. It's not a knock on a parent. I get this, and I always get it. You can tell when a semester's over with because either they're graduating or they're about to graduate. And I get this a lot. Hey, Rusty, or hey, Mr. Mansell, man, I love sports. I got a degree in sports management. I'm trying to, you know, I'd love to see if you would hire me. And that's, in their mind, that's really, okay, that's the correct way to approach. But truthfully, it's like, what have you done to separate yourself? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, if you already started a website, Are you shooting video? Are you going by and volunteering anywhere? Because when you come in and ask somebody a question, not just me, but somebody in this business, they're going to say, "What have you done?" Even if you're a young person, because nowadays you can start your own Instagram page, you can start your own, TikTok. This is the content I've been doing. There's a billion people that love sports, and it took me a long time to crack the end of the industry. We've talked about it on here, but what are you doing? And I think don't be afraid to start your own little social media and kind of learn that way. You know what I mean? But come to me, a year from now and go, hey, this is what I've got. This is what I've been doing. And that's a lot better than, hey, man, I absolutely love sports. I know everybody's stats. A lot of people do that. But show me what you've done and kind of where you are. And you don't have to be a 20-year vet, but you got to show us something like, hey, I've already started. Here's what I'm doing. Have a little bit of a resume instead of, I love sports. I know everybody's stats and all that, because we all love it now. It's just kind of, what are you doing different? That's kind of my message to all the younger people.
Yeah.
Start early, especially when you're in college. I don't care where you are. Go volunteer to cover softball. Go volunteer to cover golf. You know what I mean? Get something on your resume. Learn how to write, because it's so different now, even 2026, than it was in, say, 2019.
Yeah, and I'm not telling people to go work for free, but it's almost like, are you passionate enough to do it?
Yeah.
To where you won't even get paid. When I started, for years we didn't make any money on this. We're doing pretty well now. I mean, it's because of the work we put in when nobody was watching and we were making nothing.
I did the same way. I've talked about it. I went to Under Armour camps and I was charting 40s. They knew who I was. One guy knew me, and I would just show up. He'd hand me a chart, and I would stand there at the line. And as they crossed the line, number 81 ran 4.46. I'd write it down. Into the camp, nobody offered me any money. Nobody said, hey, come back next week. When I was able to go back, they used to have them on college campuses. So to be at Georgia, at Auburn, Georgia Tech, I would just call that guy and say, hey, I want to work this weekend. He's like, come on. I got like one pair of Under Armour shoes one time. I was like, man, that's my first NIL deal. I'm a made guy. But truthfully, that's the way I started. And I had a corporate job, talked about that. But you gotta show how bad you want to, and not be afraid to kind of fail a little bit and learn from learn creativity and those type of things. It's a totally different world than just writing a game recap and all that kind of stuff. You see what's happening in the newspapers. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be a little bit different. Find what you do well.
What about young athletes? Advice to navigating all this recruiting and
man,
NIL?
It's so crazy, man. People ask me all the time, what to do here and there. I say it's changed from last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, like, this is the class of 2027. This is the first class that I would say all the top kids, not just quarterbacks, all the top kids have agents. So it's not so much Rusty Mansell calls up Jared Curtis and says, hey, met your mom and dad and introduced myself to, and who's your top 5 schools and all that. Now it's like, hey, and trying to get into, go talk to, ABC industry. That's who's repping me, my agency. And I know that sounds so different, but that's reality. You know what I mean? Like, our people, like Pete Nakos. You see the rise of Pete Nakos and how quick he is. Pete Nakos don't know any of these kids. He knows all the agents. You know what I mean? That is a valuable source. So, he's carved his name in this industry really quick, and that's just an example. So, where there's still the relationship side. I can call, Joey King, who was Trevor Lawrence's high school coach. I could call Joey, all the time and find out what was going on. Or I could call Trevor's dad and all that. Somebody like Trevor Lawrence now, you have to call his agent. So you have to kind of adapt to that recruiting part of it. Right or wrong, like on the message board, Hayes Fawcett, who's just exploded. You know what I mean? That's a great story one day. But you look at him and he'll do a top 5 on a kid, and I'll post it on our board, and they'll go, Rusty, the guy that he just posted, is Georgia in this, or is it just this kid going to the highest bidder? You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of where we are with stuff like that. Yeah.
What do you have any stories that stand out with just crazy NIL? Even if you don't mention names.
Well, it's not really different in a way of back in the old school days, I would say, the night before signing day. Those agents are smart enough to know that if you're going to renegotiate something, you better renegotiate it that day, like or coming into it. So it's not the old brown bag anymore. The old, Uncle Larry got a new crazy. Uncle Larry got a new F-150, and he just committed to this school. But it's really, truthfully, those agents. I heard of a couple of kids last year that they were on like the official visits in June. They were committed to schools. Okay, they didn't have an agent. They had somebody look over the contract. They felt good. The school felt good. They signed it. Well, come November, this kid's now it's a 5-star, and an agent picks him up and he goes, no, we're not signing that. You're going to redo this deal. And those kids that I know particularly, they did stay with the schools they were committed to, but those schools, they were probably pissed off about kind of what happened at the end. And fans would probably be freaked out if they knew how close they were to losing those players, but they didn't. You know what I mean? And it's so different to talk like that, but it is a straight up business, man, on that side of it.
I wonder if you thought about this, but just if we had NIL forever, who do you think would be the highest paid NIL? That like Johnny Mansell, Tebow.
It had to be Tebow. I think Tebow kind of, if you were gonna, and what was really, I would say, good for him is he got caught in between two fan bases that were desperate to get him. Florida thought he was their savior. Basically, he was. Mike Shula was like, I've got to get him to keep my job, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was two. You start talking about Florida and Alabama. Now if you want to go way, way back, it would be different because Peyton Manning, I'm not sure his dad would let him get into that craziness.
Right.
I've actually talked to Trevor Lawrence's dad many times about that conversation, and he was like, man, I'm so glad we didn't face that. Because he knows not only decision you would have had to have made, they would have had to have a complete team around him, because he was kind of that phenom quarterback, one of the, at the time. But I would say Tim Tebow. Johnny Manziel, player-wise in college, don't tell him what he would have got, like even on paper, what he would have got. You know what I mean? You go back, you think of Herschel Walker. Georgia had to have him. Mm-hmm. They had to have it. Even you go back to that year, and I think they lost 3 games with him in 3 years. Won a national championship. Played for two or three.
Mm-hmm.
There's situations where it would have been crazy. I know him personally, so DJ Shockley would have been a good one to me. You know what I mean? State of Georgia. He was highly recruited. Got down to Georgia and Florida State. And he was a big recruit, so.
And that was Bobby Bowden, Florida State, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big time.
It's funny, Mark Richt was recruiting him for Florida State. And then when he left and came to Georgia, he was like, hey, remember I told you how good Florida State was? Well, now I'm over here. I'm doing all those things here. So, and I do some work with him in Atlanta, and sometimes I'll bring it up. I go, Shock, how much? I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it, So it would have been different. But I think if you asked me that question, there was no question Tebow would have been, because that was such a followed recruitment. Mm-hmm. And it really, I wouldn't even cover it. And I know the story of Mike Shula spending the entire last day there. And then when he finally called Urban Meyer, there were 2 fan bases that were desperate to get him.
Yeah, I just saw a clip this morning from a guy, I think his name's Billy Glasscock. He's the LSU GM with Kiffin, and he was at Ole Miss, obviously, so, running that operation for years. And he was giving some kind of clinic, and he was discussing, hey, at LSU, our 3rd or 4th corner is the number 1 corner at SMU. He was just making an example. But so SMU can give him number 1 corner money. Mm-hmm. We can't give the 3 or 4 corner number 1 money, because then we're taking it out of the pocket of our number 1 corner. Mm-hmm. And he basically said from 30 to 50, those guys, keeping them in-house, keeping them happy, because they got probably better offers, but it may not be better for them development wise.
Yep.
And I would imagine the same exact conversation is happening, number one, at Georgia with all the talent Kirby brings in. How big of a daily challenge is that for Kirby, especially, do you know?
Especially in December.
Right.
When the window's open. And I think Kirby probably walks into conversations going, we would love to have you. I don't want to lose you, but here's the cap. I can pay you. And that kid already knows, and I don't care what people are saying, he already knows that School X is offering him 3 times that.
Right.
You can't start at Georgia, but you can come play here. And some of those schools deal with that for sure. The depth. I mean, you got to get on the field at some point. You know what I mean? But so here's the thing too, Mike, when you look at it, a lot of these kids are probably understanding, I got a 3 or 4 year window. I got to try to make as much money as I can.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see these kids bouncing. It's not their fault, man. It's not their fault. I see these people on social media going, this is BS. This kid's 3rd school in 4 years, man. And it's not his fault because he can't do that until somebody stops him. And I don't want to get on a soapbox because I'm telling you I could spend an hour on this. I'm telling you, extremely concerned about what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years to all these guys that are making $200,000 a year. They're 20 years old. Some of these guys are making $500,000 a year. They're 20 years old. They're 21 years old. They don't get a degree. They don't make it. And they have spent this money just like a 21-year-old Rusty Mansell would have been, dumb with decisions. And you're 25 years old, and that alumni that you used to call all the time, he's not calling you back anymore. You're not at his school. You left his school. You don't have you don't have a degree. What's going to happen with these kids? There's a lot that nobody wants to talk about, and that is something. Dabo Swinney's touched on that before too. Now, long term, and I've heard Kirby talk about it in clinics. The long term effect on these kids and where they're going to be because they're not going to have a degree and all those things. So it's very dangerous, man. It's very dangerous. I have no problems. You can go make the money, go make it. I have never said that. My question is, I kind of like you get a one-time transfer, and then if you graduate, you can go anywhere you want. And I've said this on a podcast too, and I got a lot of reaction from it. I think we should reward graduates. I think you should get a $100,000 bonus. If you graduate in 4 years, you get a $100,000 bonus. And if you get your master's, you get a $50,000. And people are like, man, what the hell? They're already getting, listen, you're not in their seat. You don't understand what's going on. Let's give them, because we're already paying millions of dollars. Right. What's $100,000? A lot of these kids aren't going to do it, but give them some incentive to say, you know what? Because if you give a kid $100,000 to graduate and he's in that year 3, he goes, you know what? I'm going to stay because I'm making $125. But if I finish all the way up till next May, I'm going to get another $100 and I'm going to have a degree. So then you give him an extra tool when he's 25 years old. And we're not dealing with God knows what kind of issues, because I'm telling you now, everybody thinks they're going to play 10 years and everybody thinks they're going to play they're going to make $50 million. And it's just not reality. So I kind of worry long term, all these young men and some women, they're making all this money, where they're going to be. Because, man, these kids are 19, 20, 21 years old making $300,000-$400,000, and I hope they got good teams around them, and people are putting stuff back for them.
Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts on this? I don't even know the term official, but I think they're calling it the ghost portal. Mm-hmm. They're after spring, where they're trying.
Sounds
to
like they're
putting
trying to put the brakes on that.
Like, you think anyone will challenge that though?
Well, I don't know. it's early,
mm-hmm.
in that, but they're penalizing the coach.
Right.
So that's a pretty damn good move by the NCAA. Somebody had to tell them that one, because I hadn't seen them be real super sharp with things right lately. That's a pretty good move, because you start telling Lane Kiffin, you start telling Kirby, you start telling Sumrall, somebody, you know what, hey dude, you're gonna be out a while and you're gonna get fined for this big money, and it's on you. So you're the CEO of this staff. Better make sure nobody touches that. Kind of a good rule there. I like the one window. I I know all these coaches that thought they wanted it, and now they're going through spring practice. Somebody got hurt, all those but you got what you got, man. You had a window, you had money, you did everything you got, and it's like the NFL draft. You don't get a second draft. You better be right in that window, and this is the team. This is who you got, and can you make that team better?
Mm-hmm. I think I've asked you about this, but it's been a little while, so I'm just kind of curious if you've picked up anything else. Will Muschamp to Texas.
It worries me.
Did Kirby see that? Did he know that was coming?
I don't know that they're pretty close now.
Right.
Yeah, same age.
Well, basically, I mean, that's a move to beat Georgia, right? I mean, I don't see it any other way.
I think it's a move. Yeah, the Texas-Georgia game, I've said it a couple of times. I didn't think they wanted too much of Georgia. They didn't want much of Georgia in the fourth quarter. They got hit in the mouth. And
right.
I do think Muschamp's going to bring a lot to them. I think he's going to bring some toughness to them. They're completely all in. I mean, they are. You couldn't be more all in on everything, But I do think the Muschamp hires a hell of a hire. You know what I mean? And he's going to bring some toughness. It's going to be interesting to see if they can put it together, because Texas, I tell you what, and I don't want to jump off subjects, but the Auburn fans are going to be like, what the hell? We had Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman. Because I'm telling you right now, Cam Coleman's about to go off at Texas.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing Eric Singleton is old Eric Singleton down there. So, I mean, Auburn fans are going to be like, what was going on?
I think we know. He was on the back nine.
Yeah.
When he should have been coaching them guys up.
He's trying to get that Augusta invite. I don't know, man. But, I think Texas, going back to that, that was a hell of a hire. And I think that Will was very comfortable in life. Son plays up here, and he actually lived in Columbia, had his old house there on the Lake Murray. Got a big pad over there. He sold his house like a year and a half ago in Athens. And he was still around Georgia a little bit, but I think that happened pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I really do think it happened pretty quickly, but it's a hell of a hire, man. I mean, I've known Will a long time. He's a tough son of a gun. It didn't make me happy as a guy that covers Georgia, because I'll have to deal with that down the line.
Well, I mean, wouldn't think there's like bad blood there. But
no.
What does that just get the competitive juices going between both of them? You think?
Oh God, those two. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're two. And Mike Bobo. I mean, they're all
right.
They're all tight now. If Texas and Georgia are back in that Benz in December, that thing will be ramped up again. I can tell you. I said this last year to you. I just didn't feel like Texas wanted to play in a phone booth. You know what I mean? When it got down to it, you're flashy, you look good, you're athletic as hell. You got Arch Manning, you got all these guys. But did you really want to fist fight? You know what I mean? And Will have a great opportunity to bring that, because he's got some toughness to him.
Mm-hmm.
Sure does. I say this all the time, and I hate to say it. Will was a hell of an athlete in high school before he got hurt. I mean, it pains me to say that, because he'll probably see this, but he was a hell of an athlete now. He played football, basketball, and baseball, and he broke his leg at the end of his junior year, like a real bad break. Or there's no telling where he would have ended up. He was a very solid Division I prospect. He had to have a different path and then get into Georgia later on, actually starting. So, But he'll bring some toughness over there. It's just how they react to him and what pieces they have. But Texas is all in, man. There's no question about it. And Cam Coleman adding that, you better, Texas fans, enjoy that one.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy that one, because this time next year he'll be getting ready to go somewhere for wherever that draft is.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about Kirby's strategy, where it seems like he didn't go full Dabo, but let's use the portal conservatively.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that I would read that as he's pretty happy with the roster he's got, and he's developed these guys.
So, two different answers to that. He is. I would say he's very happy with the roster he's got. I'm sitting in this seat last year having the same conversation. They had 7 returning starters. A lot of questions. Gunnar Stockton, small sample size. Can he be the guy? You don't know yet. You fast forward to me sitting here right now, and you look at this season, 15 returning starters. Very little noise out of this team in the portal. You know why? Because they paid the starters. He paid those kids, and that's his recruiting tactic. You come here, those guys aren't. Now, the high school kids that go to Georgia aren't making what the high school kids other places are. But the starters at Georgia are getting freaking paid. I know that's a pretty stadium and campus and all that, and they got great cafeteria. But those guys they're there because they're getting paid too now.
Mm-hmm.
And so he chose to pay his roster. So now I'll say this. They're going to lose a lot of 3-year starters in December. The question's going to be for Kirby Smart. Are they going to say that our young kids are ready to step into those things? Or is he going to have to go portal heavy for the first time? I don't know the answer. But one way or the other, they're going to replace a lot of 3-year starters. There's a lot of guys are leaving after this year. And, you'll have a new quarterback, all this stuff. So it'd be very interesting if we sit here next year and go, Kirby went portal heavy or Kirby bet on his young guys.
Mm-hmm. And what is your thoughts on Gunner? I'm sure you saw it. Wasn't it David Pollock recently said, basically, if he's the same Gunner, Georgia's not winning.
Winning it all?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's right because the quarterback gets so much attention.
Right.
And, this has been my kind of message the whole time. Winning the SEC championship still means something. That is a big damn deal. I don't care, the end result. But the how you're kind of judged now is, can you win 3 in January? Period. Can you win 3 games in January? That is now the new, set the tone for your program. So can Gunner Stockton win 3 games in January? I don't know that, but they've got the roster to find out at some point. It's not all on him. I think Gunner had a really good year. I think there were some games you go, what happened there? The Georgia Tech game particularly. But you look at the Texas game, you look at the SEC championship, he threw 3 touchdowns. The Texas game, he gave them fit. I left the Texas game that night, and I go, if that guy plays like that, they're going to win it all. They had 2 key injuries down the line. They lost Drew Bobo, who is a damn good center, big-time NFL prospect. And they lost Gabe Harris, a defensive end. The first game, they didn't stop Trinidad Chandler until the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, Gabe Harris and Georgia up front finally got him a little bit rattled. It wasn't there, and credit Trinidad Chandler because he played his ass off in that SEC championship. I think the Georgia fans got all bent out of shape, and I understand losing a game like that, but, at the end of the day, you had to score 43 to beat him the first time. He's a hell of a player, man. That dude is a damn problem, and I'm interested to see how they do this year, Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I think Texas already had a pretty good defensive coordinator. I think that Georgia game, that's probably the one where Sark was like,
you got to make tough decisions.
Yeah.
Are we going? This is going to be us, or what have I got to do to get there? And that team across, you heard Lane Kiffin say a couple years ago after they lost to Ole Miss, they lost to Georgia in Athens like 2 or 3 years ago. He made a change. He said we got to get bigger. So they went to the portal and got bigger. Sark probably left that one going, this is, play this team again, and we just can't. We're not as tough as them right now. Mm-hmm. How do we do that? So there's no question. It wasn't just the Georgia thing, but I would imagine hiring Will is what he thought can get them to January. We got to get a shot because I'm telling you, man, this is they're all in. Like Texas, I'm not saying they need to win it, but they need to be there in January, and like people need to be told by them because they are all in on this roster.
I love saying this because again, I got to give you credit because you're always on this stuff. But I remember, I don't know what year it would have been, maybe 21, where Georgia opened against Clemson.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it was your message board or just on Twitter, but you said, "Hey, you guys need to be paying attention." No, Lad McConkey.
Lad McConkey.
And I said, "Who the hell is Lad McConkey?"
Yeah, trust me. God, I'll never live that one down. I've told the story a million times. I stood there at a 7-on-7 in summer. It was June of 2018, maybe 2017, and I'm sitting there, and no media is there. It's about 10 teams, and I'm gonna give you the story I'm right on first. Of course, I'm standing there, and I see a kid, and I tell that coach, I said, "That's Alvin Kamara." And he said, "Rusty, we can't even get anybody to come out of school." I said, "I'm just telling you right now, that's Alvin Kamara. I'm just telling you, I've seen him in high school, a 10th grader. That's Alvin Kamara. It was Jahmyr Gibbs."
Wow.
And he's Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Well, I was right. I go to the next field, and Preston Pogue at North Murray High School pulls me over. He goes, "Rusty, we got one." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "This kid right here." And I said, "This little dude right here?" To my mind, I'm thinking. And he goes, "Rusty, he's really good." And I was like, "Coach, that's cute." You know what I mean? I see a million kids that look like that. And he's twitchy and all. He actually was playing quarterback in 7-on-7. And Lad, we laugh about it now because I look at him and say, "Lad, I'm sorry." you know, because I had the first look at you. I had the first look at Jahmyr Gibbs on this field, and I was right. And I walked right over there, and I got humbled real quick because I missed him.
Yeah.
And it was funny because everybody kept texting me about this kid from North Murray High School, Lad McConkey. I got tired of hearing about damn Lad McConkey. So he did play Calhoun, which is one of the best teams in the state of Georgia, and they'd never beaten them. And they couldn't stop him. They couldn't do anything with him, and he beat them for the first time. Their head coach, Hal Lamb, called Kirby. He said, Kirby, I'm telling you right now, this kid is for real. I mean, Georgia kind of knew who he was, and they were recruiting him. But that call, really, because he was respected, long-time high school coach in the state of Georgia, that call, I would imagine Kirby would probably agree. He took it more serious. And then Kirby goes to see him play basketball in January. And everybody knows the story, long-time Tennessee family. Tennessee wouldn't even sniff him, really. And, Kirby goes and watches him play basketball. And I heard Lad say, man, I about threw up. It was one of the worst games I ever had. But Kirby saw that, in person, like the twitchiness. And what a hell of a – and nobody – signing day, nobody said, oh, hell yeah, man, we got that kid from North Murray. But what a heck of a eval there, because Kirby went himself to see him play basketball on a night he didn't play great. He didn't score, like, stat-wise. But it's funny because, every time I see him, I got to say it, and I go, my bad, Lad. My bad. I had a chance to. And I don't really know what I would have, rated him, because I was involved with ratings at the time. I would have took it a little more serious. And it kind of taught me a lesson, too. Don't judge the book by the cover always.
Mm-hmm.
But I also say this to everybody that texts me. This is the next Lad McConkey. I will send them his NFL combine. And you go, you think this kid can get to this? Because this is what Lad McConkey got to. Yeah. That's 1 percentile elite testing. And you usually don't hear nothing back after that. But I take everything serious when I can, though, because Lad taught me a good lesson.
No, you mentioned Jalen Carter. What
Jalen Walker. So the Clemson game, there was a thing that kind of went viral. I shot a video in Atlanta that morning, and I said, Georgia's about to play Clemson down the street. And a lot of people don't know about Jalen Walker, but I'm telling you, Jalen he's that guy, and he gave Clemson absolute hell.
Yeah.
And they kind of came on the scene. But Jalen Carter was a kid that I got some credit on because I told everybody he would be the highest person drafted out of that class. And he was. And I never went and saw him in person, but I got sent some video of him playing tight end as a junior. And I was like, damn, that dude moves like that. And I didn't know, you get football nerd, be able to come through your hips like that. That's where he will absolutely just super strong, twitchy. Not many like him. I mean, he was a wrecking ball. He's about to get $150 million, whatever, because there's only a few of those. And Jordan Davis got paid too, but
right.
But Jalen Carter was he was a guy that I felt pretty confident that he was going to be hell to deal with. And boy, he's on the football field, man. That LSU game when he just everybody talks about it, it's like he electrocuted that guard. I mean, the guy come out of his stance, it's like he put his hands on him. It's like he electrocuted him. The dude just popped off. You know what I mean? You don't see that.
Right.
You don't see somebody become that explosive in such a short area. I would love to talk. I've talked to Tate Ratledge many times about him. He's like, dude, no. I'm glad that dude was gone. You did not want any of that on Bloody Tuesday.
Oh, that's a bad word to Shane Tate Ratledge. Wasn't he the one with the Tennessee sticker they pulled off?
It's so funny. Dean would probably see this. His dad. I hadn't talked to Dean in years. That was not staged at all. And his entire family were huge Tennessee people.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the right time for Tate to go there. His sister goes there. But Tate, it just wasn't the right time for him to go there. Things weren't kind of rolling at Tennessee.
Yeah.
He had Sam Pittman. It's funny, man, because Sam Pittman took the LSU job. Took the Arkansas job the Sunday before National Signing Day. And Tate was from my hometown, so I knew him. My daughter graduated high school with him, so I knew him. And so Tate called me that Sunday night. He goes, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, look, you do whatever you need to do. And just stay in touch with me this week. I know this is crazy, and it's a totally different deal for you. Tennessee came in hard that last week. So did Clemson. Clemson was trying to get him on campus like that Wednesday. Tennessee came in really hard at the end, and I remember that was Sunday night. Monday afternoon, he texted me, said, I think I'm going to take a couple of visits. Don't put it out yet, but Tennessee, maybe Clemson too. Said, no problem. Next day, Kirby hires Matt Luke. Matt Luke's first person, they flew him from Oxford, Mississippi to Rome, Georgia. He goes in, spends about 4 or 5 hours, meets his family, meets him, and I text Tate that night. I said, how'd it go today? He goes, I'm not taking any visits. I'm staying with Georgia. It's funny, though. You know who called him? Sam Pittman called him. Sam Pittman going to Arkansas. He's trying to get a staff. He's trying to do all these things. He took 2 minutes to call Tate Ratledge and say, you need to stay with Georgia. That's the place for you. And you know why Georgia fans love Sam Pittman? Little things like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, oh, by the way, who's never coaching again?
I had to ask you, what's Coach up to?
So I talked to him. You know, the Alabama job came open, and you know all these people were texting me, "We're getting Sam Pittman." I was like, "Huh? Y'all ain't getting Sam? Dude's at the lake." So I didn't even respond. Did he respond? So a couple of weeks later, I reached out to him, and we talked. We talked about football for about 35 seconds. We talked about his new stereo. We talked about the new horse track right there in his hometown. And we talked about him having to deal with general contractors and not showing up on time. So I don't have to ask Coach Pittman if he's coaching anymore. All he was trying to do was get the sheetrock guy there that day so he could get his basement finished because he's ready for a big-ass summer. You know what I mean? And you want to talk about concert tour. He ripped me off about 5 he's about to go to. He needs one of those summer concert tours shirts back in the day. You know what I mean? You need to have a Sam Pittman concert tour.
So he's just living the life.
Dude, he's done. He's done, unless something just crazy happens.
Would he ever consider like ESPN or SEC?
I think he would be great for something like that.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know his plans, so I'm going to ask him, but I've always told him to be great because he's just a good-ass person. Y'all know him. Y'all had him on here. He's such a genuine person. You know what I mean? And I've had a chance to go to some concerts with Man Loves Music now. Freaking loves it now. We went and saw, I went to see Luke Combs with him.
Really?
Yeah, and he sang more songs than Luke Combs did. He knew every word, you know. So he is genuinely a great dude, and you can tell why he was a great recruiter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, another guy that I hear, I don't know him personally. He's been on the show. I wasn't there with it, but Shane interviewed Jon Sumrall, who I hear a lot of great things about. And, Georgia fans are always going to hate the Florida coach or whatever, but should they be at all concerned that Florida finally got a good coach in there?
Well, all those questions will be answered. You know what I mean? So I don't really know enough about him. I know enough about some of Florida. I can tell you now, they've got a really good wide receiver group, like very underrated. As you start digging into teams, I think because I watched a little bit of their spring game, and then I started, watching some of the clips and stuff. Like, they got some freaking dudes at wide receiver now. You throw Eric Singleton in there with that group.
Right.
I think they're really good up front on defense. I think the question's going to be, obviously Buster coming in. I think it's going to wind up being Aaron Philo. I mean, I think that's his guy.
Right. They didn't even play Dallas Wilson in the spring game.
Yeah, I know. Throw him in there.
He tore up Texas last
Brown.
year.
You know what I mean? They got some dudes now, wide receiver. It's going to be depth, offensive line depth and those types of things. I think, and God, my Georgia fans might kill me, I think Auburn and Florida both made good hires. I do. Lane, obviously, that was, everything's right there for Lane. I mean, everything's right. They're not trying to play in the Sugar Bowl. LSU's trying to win a national championship.
Yeah.
They spent national championship money. Lane got everything he wanted. And by God, the roster's insane what he did that quick. So, but I do think Auburn, it'll be interesting with this quarterback because that's his guy. Sumrall, I think he's got some edge to him. I think Florida fans should like that. We'll see, but I'm confident in that damn wide receiver group. They are for real. Mm-hmm. For real.
Do you think Lane Kiffin is worth the hype, though? Because I can see it both ways. He's not one of anything major, but he turned Ole Miss into basically a SEC powerhouse.
100%. Hell of a play caller.
Yeah.
He's a hell of an in-game adjuster. You know what I mean? He's such a is such a wild character off the field, social media wise.
Right.
Social media wise, you know, and that's so different.
That could be good or bad.
Good or bad, you know. I love when he'll just retweet something, knowing it's stirring the pot. You know what I mean? It cracks me up. You know, he's sitting around going, "Oh hell yeah, I'm retweeting that." You know what I mean? So, they spent national championship money. So the Ole Miss game, I was going to get a ton of buzz there. We're going to find out if Lane is a damn good coach or if he's a great coach, because they're going to have LSU has everything you want to win a national championship, and they always have. But now they're all in. They understand the landscape of NIL and all that, and they are completely in. So we're about to find out on Lane. And I say this about Kirby. You know what I mean? When Kirby was 8-5, and people kept telling me, this guy can't do it. You know, I don't know if this guy can do it. And then he loses that game, the national championship, and then 19 happens, and then 20 happens, and everybody's like, that guy was like a one-hit wonder.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He got his footing under, got everything going, and they go back to back, so you don't really have those questions anymore. You're going to find out at what level I think Lane is through LSU. I think Lane took LSU because that's the school he thinks he can do. He can win it all,
right.
win it all at. Yep.
Yeah.
I think he's also it's just ready. I mean, LSU is, my God, man, that place is it's off a chain down there now. It's different.
Right, and almost at Ole Miss, it's like,
you wonder if it's a ceiling. You wonder if it's a ceiling
yeah.
there, you know. And still, Ole Miss fans should be happy as hell because, I mean, they're in the discussion now. Everybody. Man, you're about to bring them up. They're damn good. You know what I mean?
I was just going to ask you about Pete Golding.
Yeah, and we're going to find out on him too. You know what I mean? Because he has a complete offseason. There was some roster moves there. Getting Trinidad Chambliss back was that must have been the greatest night of his life, other than getting a head coaching job. Because Trinidad Chambliss was a guy that would scare the absolute piss out of me in 4 quarters. And Georgia's faced him twice, and they basically only stopped him that 1 quarter. You know, They got 3 series. They had to score 43 to beat him. You know, but
I still can't believe Pete Golding beat Georgia.
Yeah,
you know,
Trinidad Chambliss. I call it a talent equalizer. Sometimes you look at Mike Vick at Virginia Tech. They had a talent equalizer. This guy that when they went on the field, they were just as good or better than you because they had somebody dynamic. He played so good that night. You know what I mean? And Georgia didn't play as good as they needed to, obviously. But some of those plays he made, there were great athletes one-on-one with him, and he shook them and made plays. And sometimes you tip your cap to that. And I know that's hard as a Georgia fan to lose 2 years in a row like that in a game. But that game in particular, he was a little too much for him. I watched Joe Burrow do it in 2019 SEC Championship. They dial up Trayvon Walker, who, oh, by the way, was the number 1 pick too. They dial him up on a freaking blitz, one-on-one, and Joe Burrow jukes him and then throws an absolute piss missile to Jamar Chase for about 60. And I said, hey, boys, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
They ain't winning today. And they didn't win. That was the better team on the other side. You tip your cap.
Yeah.
You know, and then that same bunch, those young kids, 2 years later, they won it. But that day, they had no answer for Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were hell, man. That 2019 LSU.
Yeah. I think that's the best college team ever.
Well, I would say the people that didn't get a chance to see, like 02 Miami, the 01 Miami team, that had like NFL first rounders that were 5th string. You know, you look at that. But Georgia 22, Bama 20, all these teams. I'll say this too, and I don't want to dig too far into it. Indiana earned my respect this year. Because I kept saying, man, no, it ain't happening. Every week I'm like, all right, it ain't happening. When they went to the national championship game, before that game, I'm telling you, boys, they're winning it.
Mm-hmm.
They are primed, they're peaked, they're gonna win this damn thing. They were just they were there.
Do you think that Cignetti? Do you think he'll ever come to the SEC?
Nah, probably not. He would love to sit Indiana and beat SEC teams and not play that schedule. Hell no. He's been down here enough to know. That's the thing, man. The Big Ten has all the bragging rights, and they do. There's no, but you're not going to tell me that the gauntlet of the SEC every week will beat you down. And you think all these coaches aren't pissed off about this ninth game?
Yeah, they'll hate it.
If every SEC coach could sit in here and not get in trouble, and you got to ask one question, you would get a hell no, and they walk right out the door. None of them wanted it. Right. None of them wanted it. You know what I mean? You think you want to pick up an extra week at A&M? You think you want to pick up an extra week in Baton Rouge? You want to go to Neyland? You know? No. You want to take an extra game? So that's another thing. There's not going to be a ton of people fighting to get here if you can win it other ways. And
I get that, but what's disappointed me is the fans just taking their cues from the coaches.
Oh yeah.
God,
well, for content and as a fan perspective, I'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to see Georgia play Mercer. I'm going to see Georgia's going to Ole Miss,
right,
or Mississippi State, or somewhere like that. I mean, you're going to get as a fan. There's going to be better games. You know what I mean? There'll be better games. We're not going to have that week anymore.
And what people are also missing with a 9-game SEC, we're going to have less. Oh, Texas got an easy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's got a damn gauntlet.
Yep.
Because what you do is if it's that way on paper, what happens is Texas picks up a Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Now their schedule's really difficult, and Georgia picks up an Arkansas.
Yeah. It
kind of balances it back out.
Yeah.
When you have 16, you can't do 8.
I heard Kirby interviewed on Atlanta radio yesterday, and he said they asked him about playing a preseason game. He said, I don't want a preseason game because I play against the best team, one of the best teams in the country every week in practice.
Right.
But he would like to start the season earlier. He would like to start week 0 and take a week off of that January schedule. I would love that, because that month of August is, as a fan, as a coach, as a writer, I would love to have a game like August 20th.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know it's hot, but I don't want to be playing January 25th.
Right.
Let's play January. Let's take that off and play January 10th then. That's the latest we're going.
Everybody's dying for football.
Oh my God, that month of August is brutal. I mean, I'm so sick that I watched the NFL Hall of Fame game, and none of those guys are making it. You know what I mean? Like half those guys are working for UPS in a month. But by God, July 29th, I am watching the Jets and the Ravens, and I don't give a damn who's on there.
Right.
I'm watching it. I'll watch all 4 quarters, and everybody's like, dude, you got a problem. I'm like, yes, I do.
They're just out there.
And then you have that lull. Then you have that lull. Nobody's watching like me and their grandparents, that kid's grandparents. But by God, I am watching it. So,
hey, I love to ask you every year, because I know you follow all these guys in high school. Players, could be Georgia, could be anywhere, SEC, that maybe are not household names yet, that this season you feel like could be household names or breakout players across the SEC. Anybody stand out?
I kind of think at some point Mike Matthews is going to click at Tennessee. I just think that Mike's too good. I think he's elite speed. He's got some stuff in his neck. I know he's a tough kid. I think at some point Mike Matthews at Tennessee is going to be that guy. I really do. I think Elias Williams at Georgia, the Georgia fan base knows him, but I think everybody in the country is about to get introduced to a 6'7", 245-pound dude, and everybody's like, that's Darnell Washington. Like, no, that's not Darnell. Darnell was 285. This guy's 245 and can freaking run. And this dude's a problem. I think a lot of people, we're obviously recording this before G-Day this weekend, but, a lot of people might see him for the first time. I think that's a guy that Gunnar Stockton's going to, you gotta replace all the Zach Branch stuff, the targets there. But I think you look at a kid like that who's 6'7", what I mean? It's just different now. I'm interested in South Carolina. I think Beamer paid his roster to come back. It's a huge year for him.
Yeah.
It's a huge year. I think Lenore Sellers is prime to take that step. It would be massive if he does.
And working with Kendall Browse, I think it's
Kendall
a perfect
Browse,
fit for
I
him.
think it's a good fit. I think he was the guy they had to have. That was the guy they had to have, man. And I think Beamer, probably made sure that happened. But I think he's prime to take that next step. I told you last year, I think in August or July, SEC Media Days, I was like, careful on the arch height, because he hasn't done this. He hasn't been in all these stadiums. I think Arch is kind of ready to make that step too. I think he's, he should be. I feel a lot more confident than I did last year with him. And I just knew, man, he'd never been in all that set. He'd never been all those places. And it takes some time to go through that. So I think that's for Georgia fans too, looking at Gunnar. Gunner's been in some tough-ass places. He's been in some big games. The moment's not going to be too big for him. It's not going to be too big. And you get a second-year returning starter with all these guys around you. Yes, there's things that Gunner can do better. Yes, he can use the middle of the field better. Yes, he can use his legs more. But he's had a whole offseason to absorb everything he learned, everything he watched, and now what can you do to get better in the second year?
Mm-hmm. Do you think Kalen DeBoer will make it at Alabama? Because I just don't know about that. I think he's a really, really good coach. You know,
I feel
too
better
many blowouts.
I feel better after seeing Keelan Russell.
Well, that's true. But what they seem to be lacking is, if I was an Alabama fan, what I probably would have been afraid of was that Nick Saban toughness.
Defense
is gone.
To me, it's almost like, do we have that dude on defense that scares you? Like they always had that. They always had them 2 or 3 guys that were just too much for you. Right. And trust me, covering Georgia, I've seen enough of Alabama. I've seen enough. To me, I think it boils down to the toughness factor again. Do they want to fight you in the fourth quarter? At times I stood there in Athens when they beat them, and I left that night. I said, yep, they're good, and Ty Simpson's good. I don't know what happened the rest of the year, because things obviously got – and Georgia took it to them in the SEC championship game, and then you look at –
-3 rushing yards for Bama.
I mean, got whipped up front, and that does not happen.
Right.
That does not happen. So I would imagine that he's been there. He's got his foot under him. This is a big year for him. This is a big year to, we're not going to – may not win the national championship, but you got to have those 2 or 3 big games. You go, yep, we're still Bama. Yep.
Any thoughts on Tennessee coming into this year after a little bit of a disappointing year? But, I listen to a lot of Feinbaum show, obviously, and all these callers are like, Heupel, what's he done? Time to move on. And it's like, buddy, do you remember Tennessee before Heupel? It was pretty brutal to watch.
I mean, he keeps them steady. You know what I mean? But that Tennessee's not a steady program. They're there to win championships. Mm-hmm. Big year for him. Obviously, the quarterback deal was going to be that. To me, is it's an important role everywhere, but it's always an important role. And the Tennessee people that watch probably would turn off here. I was in Neyland last year, and they outplayed Georgia. They did, and they outplayed them, and they still lost. And that is tough to take. We can't get over the hump. And Gunner Stockton throws the absolute ball of his career. It was money, the time he needed to make the throw, and he did, to London Humphreys. But I was in the booth that day, and I sat beside Jake Rowe, and I said, Jake, they're not winning this one. I mean, it's going to happen at some point. Tennessee's going to beat Georgia. And I was like, you know what? This is tip the cap. They're physical today and just didn't get it done. So to me, Heupel's got to win a couple of those games where, he's got to show, hey, we're trending up. You know what I mean?
Right.
They got to take that next step. But quarterback play, it's so important, that offense, and wide receiver play. Mm-hmm. Can they get it? Can they get it there? Because I do think they've gotten – when you look at Tennessee, based off what Heupel's done, they look like Georgia and Alabama and Texas. They got big-ass dudes. I mean, Davis Sanders, super freak over there. Yep. It's going to be a big year for him. Defensively, they look like everybody. They look like – let me rephrase that. They look like what Tennessee's supposed to look like. Now you got to have those results.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have the roster. But obviously, we don't know about the quarterback.
That's a huge deal, especially in that offense, because it's such a quarterback-driven offense.
He always plays the experienced guy. Mm-hmm. And they literally have no experience.
I mean, if I'm Joey Aguilar, what happened? Everybody else won. Yeah. How the hell does that happen? He played great against Georgia. I'll say this. I mean, that was a day where I was like, okay, this guy's pretty good.
Oh, one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I looked at my list here because I didn't want to forget it. But because we saw the photo, Cousin Shane, he said, am I seeing things? You see this? Josh Pate.
Donald
Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that back here? Is that Rusty? What? How the hell did that happen?
So, a young kid, he's not a kid now. He's probably 24 years old. I've known him since he was, 10 years old. And went to Georgia and worked for the football team. Gets a job in D.C., and that's the last I heard of him.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, he calls me up and is like, hey, man, am working in the White House. I was like, man, that's awesome. Congratulations and all that. So about 3 or 4 weeks before that, he calls me and he goes, hey, Trump's coming to Rome. And I said, okay. And he goes, we're going to shoot a podcast with a major sports figure. And I said, okay. And he goes, you'll probably want to be there for this one. And I said, well, can I come? And he goes, yeah. So it turned into, I called Pate and I was like, are you and me really going to be in this? What's going on, So it was a crazy day. And then I wind up, I've known Gunner since he was a 9th grader. He winds up being there. So me and Gunner sit there and talk for 45 minutes about life and cracking jokes, about growing up in football and all that. But it was a very, I would say, wild day logistically, because I think you had Josh on.
Yeah, we asked about the security. And
let me tell you something. I filled out more paperwork to sit in a room. I mean, I was worried about Spring Break '93 popping up. Like, did I pay my tab at Spinnaker? You know what I mean? But to sit in a room with a president of the United States, you know what I mean? So I've told people. Somebody asked me else about that, and I said, you know what? If I could do anything. If somebody said you could do anything, I would love to sit down with Barack Obama and ask him the decision to go into that building that night to get him.
Yeah.
What made you tipping cap? Because I'm a history nerd now. You're talking about this is a different pod now if you want to get nerdy.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about somebody that flew to Dallas by myself to go to the grassy knoll.
Really?
Kennedy. I sit there. I did the Texas School Book Depository. I did all that tour. So don't ruin my streak.
Was that pretty neat?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
was there a second shooter?
Hell yeah. I think so. Yeah. I would love to see the files on that, but like the president stuff, like Woodrow Wilson's wife's buried in my hometown.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm a history nerd with stuff like that, but to sit in a room with a president and to see the amount of, when they pull that motorcade up and you hear the thunder of God knows how many motorcycles, I was like, oh Lord. Your heart starts getting crazy. And I'm looking at Josh Pate going, what in the hell are me and you doing in here? And Josh took a bunch of heat on that. And let me tell you something, man. It's the president. Things changed. That wasn't the plan. Like, Josh had 45 minutes with this guy.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 hours in that room with him talking, and like, he had a plan and things weren't able to go there. So he had to pivot as quick as he could. He gets like 13 minutes with a guy. You know what I mean? So, I saw the backlash, some of the things with that, but yeah, man, the president side of it was really cool to be in a room like that. But it was the paperwork, like days, like every day for like 3 or 4 days, you're signing stuff, submitting, phone, text, social security numbers, just to be in a room like that was crazy.
From, what was it, the steel mill to sitting with the president? Yeah. Only in America,
Only in America, man. You know what I mean? And got 2 free hot dogs. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn. So, but it was wild, and that Josh took some stuff for that, but I'm witness, kind of know what happened behind the scenes, kind of know how the thing went. So he's still Josh Pate. He's still that damn dude, and it was interesting, but to see the logistics side of it, man, was crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, last thing, really appreciate you, Rusty.
Yeah, man.
For this season,
yeah,
for Georgia, what is something that will kind of make or break Georgia's? Again, it's national championship or bust. It seems like these days. What will kind of decide that, you think, for Georgia?
It's interesting. I heard Kirby interviewed yesterday. I said Atlanta radio, and the guy said, "Well, Coach, all your returning starters higher expectation." He goes, "It's not higher. It's always high here."
Yeah.
So I do think that Georgia, and I said this on Fine Bomb, I said Georgia has a national championship type roster, and I'm going to say this in every interview, and people are going to get tired of hearing me saying it, but it comes down to, can you win 3 in January? Georgia's defending SEC champions. Nobody talks about that. What do they talk about? They lost to Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. You know what I mean? So yeah. Can you win 3 in January? To me, if I was a GM of a school and I'm at one of these schools I know that has a chance every year to win it, my question, when we're on that board and we're in that portal board and we're on that recruiting board, Can this guy help us win 3 in January? Because that's what it's about now. So if you look at Georgia, how deep do they play in January? I'm not necessarily saying it's not national championship or bust. National championship is the goal at Georgia. How deep do they play in January? Do they win a bowl game? Do they get to the quarters? Do they go the semis? Do they get there? But it's how deep you play in January, I think, is the next question on Kirby Smart. And I think a lot of people are sitting around waiting to see if can he win one in this landscape? Can Kirby Smart win one at Georgia? And their roster is just as good as anybody. I mean, nobody has crazy depth. You're not going to have that 21 and 22 team was just stupid depth. You're never going to see that. I don't care how much money LSU's got. You're never going to see that. Texas Tech, now maybe they're at 44, top 44. It's going to be crazy.
Right.
But nobody's going to be 60 and 70 deep like Georgia was in 21, 22. They just happen to be on the end of that transition into NIL, the transfer portal windows. Those days are over, man.
We'll never know the answer, but if there was a 12 team in 23, would Georgia have won it, you think?
They've been hard to play.
Yeah.
They've been hard to play.
I think they would have.
They would have been, it's I covered Georgia. I'm not going to sit here and say we're the best team, but they would have been a team I wouldn't want to play.
Yeah.
That's you get in I don't want to play them. I don't want to play them. To me this year, the team I wouldn't want to, if you show me the bracket this year and I can't pick Georgia, I wouldn't want to play Ohio State. That would have team that been like, man, and you're going to watch the draft next week, and they're going to be, that first night, that first hour, might as well be Ohio State. It should have done it in Columbus instead of Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Because it saved everybody some travel money. And they didn't win it.
Right.
They didn't win it. But if you tell me, what's the one team, I would not want to play Ohio State in that playoff bracket, and they didn't win it. That's the great thing about playoffs. I love it. I don't know where we're going with all this expanding stuff. But I love the playoffs. I love to get it because, Indiana earned it, man, which is wild to freaking say. Indiana. I mean, you kidding me? They freaking won it, dude. But they were so damn good. They were tough, man. They were tough, man.
And they can't field a damn basketball team to save their life.
That's the damnedest thing. Could you imagine 25 years ago if you'd have watched it and said, hey, man, in 2026, our basketball team is going to be average as grits, but y'all wait till this damn football team. Y'all wait till this quarterback and this guy named Kurt Signetti that we're about to get, y'all not going to believe us about that. We're going to run through everybody, and we're going to tell you we're going to run through everybody. It's wild, man. It's wild. I still think about Damon Bailey back in the day, all them guys, and then you're sitting here, Fernando Mendoza, boy, that was close to Georgia. That was close.
Really?
That was real close. I've seen the picture of him and Zachariah Branch standing at Kirby's house on that visit, and you look at that picture and you go, "What if?" Oof. Yeah, man.
All right. Well, I think that's a perfect place to cut it. Rusty, thank you so much for dropping by. Tell the listeners, got any deals at DawgsHQ?
Yeah, they were 50% off right now, and it's a big week too with G-Day. And what's different now is you transition past spring practice, the official visits start. Yeah. And now, if you keep up with recruiting and you really want to know what's going on, the month of June is the Super Bowl. All those official visits, all those kids now are doing verbal deals. You know what I mean? So I would say the majority of these decisions, especially in these Power 4 deals, the majority of those decisions are being made in June. So, man, it ramps up. Like we do G-Day, spring practice. We take about 2 weeks to absorb everything. And then like the first, second week of May, they start bringing in official visitors. Everybody does.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Georgia got 2 official visitors this weekend. In April. You mind if I told you that 5 years ago? We did OVs in April. What? Wow, man. Always, man. Thank you. And got to get Cousin Shane off the golf cart. You know what I mean?
I tried to get him to come up. Yeah. He had to work today.
You know what? Oh, man, that would have been great. Here's my challenge to him. Quit showing me the picture of that cart. Show me the picture of you pushing that golf bag, big boy.
No,
big boy.
That ain't coming.
Come on, cuz. We're going to get together and play some in Tampa. I've had to take him play some golf.
He's trying to do that. He wants to organize something.
Tell him I'm in.
All right.
Tell him I'm in. It didn't feel like Texas wanted to play in a phone booth. You know what I mean? When it got down to it, you're flashy, you look good, you're athletic as hell. You got Arch Manning, you got all these guys. But did you really want to fist fight? You know what I mean? And Will have a great opportunity to bring that because he's got some toughness to him.
Mm-hmm.
Sure does. I say this all the time, and I hate to say it. Will was a hell of an athlete in high school before he got hurt. I mean, it pains me to say that because he'll probably see this, but